Be on now.
Alright, hey, I'm Colby Coates, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about U.S. roadway construction safety management. I have an audience of two, Mr. Justin Ray over here, and Dustin's in the back operating the camera. Okay, first I want to talk a little bit about the highway itself. In 1956, President Eisenhower created the U.S. roadway, or the interstate highway system. Interstates and highways have undoubtedly been instrumental in the rise of America's economy over the last half century. Roads are used every day by businesses and people just going abroad. Although they've been very helpful, roads have also been a very dangerous place. In 2010, 32,885 deaths were recorded related to roadway accidents. In the same year, 2,200,000 injuries were reported. Also is related to roadway travel, so it's pretty large numbers just for 1 year. Although these numbers are alarming, they've actually decreased steadily over the past decade, and actually fatalities are lower today than they were in 1960 when the roadway statistics started being recorded. And so that's a pretty significant difference considering there weren't many people on the roads then. As far as roadway construction goes, usually roads are built by independent contractors, and then they're maintained by the respective states' Department of Transportation. Some of the smaller jobs you'll see the DOTs pick up if they have the manpower for it, but most of the time they're contracted out. The roadway construction industry today is a $48 billion industry, which is enormous, one of the biggest industries in the world. And roadway construction itself is responsible for almost 190,000 workers in America alone, and that's just isolated roadway construction, not considering the subsequent jobs that are created. Construction sites are very dangerous though. Any construction site is, and roadway construction sites are even more so most of the time. Basically just because of the heavy equipment that it's involved with and the surroundings. In 2008, 716 fatalities were reported inside construction / maintenance zones. That's including just civilians coming through and the road workers that were involved. In 2007, 108 fatalities were reported for roadway workers, all of which occurred inside the work zone. So that's the workers that were actually in the work zone. And this past summer, 2 fatalities occurred on a bridge that I was working on just a couple days before, and I actually got out of the work site, moved on to a different one, and 2 people were killed just a couple days after. And so that kind of sparked my interest on this topic, and is the reason why I'm presenting it today. Without standards for safety, the construction zones would be much worse than they are today. Although there were a lot of fatalities, it would be exponentially greater if we didn't have standards for safety. The 2 main programs that conduct this is OSHA and the NIOSH. They both have very detailed plans and guidelines for protection of these workers, and also along with that, you'll have your own state regulated guidelines and sometimes even regional guidelines that are more detailed and give more information based on safety just for that particular area. So for like highly or more densely populated areas, you're going to have different than somewhere that's not as densely populated, and vice versa. The factors involved with safety, there's several factors that play a role in roadway construction. Workers' compliance with the safety and the implementation of the safety by the supervisors is a huge key factor. If the workers won't comply with what the supervisors are telling them, obviously the safety plan isn't going to work. Training should be available and enforced to ensure that the work environment is safe and healthy always. And of course the roads are unpredictable, as we all know, but with proper safety training and implementation, all this can be avoided, all the hazards can be avoided. Some of the main ways that the roadway construction can be more safe is by hazard signs and just regular construction signs. Detailed instructions are given for each situation for signs. Some of the biggest key elements for these instructions are the distance between signs. A lot of times when you're going down roads, you'll see the cones, how far they have to be spaced out. That all is very detailed description by OSHA, as well as for these type of signs you see like slow, road work ahead, men working. Those have to be within a certain proximal distance of what they call the unsafe zone. There has to be a certain amount of them as well, based on the amount of traffic that's going to be flowing through the area. Without these signs, the traffic couldn't be regulated throughout the work zones and be a very dangerous place. Also with these signs and with the hazards, illumination is key. Everything's got to be very bright. You saw on the slide earlier that all the signs are this very bright orange color. That's just so people can see them very well. Safety codes determine how bright these have to be and determine how big they have to be as well. I actually brought in a vest that I had to wear working on roadways this summer. As you can see, it's a very bright orange, and then a lot of times you're working at nights in these roadway construction sites, and so they put the reflective strips on them as well so headlights can see them, and whenever they're shining the work lights down on them, they can reflect that light too, so people can see you around, and the equipment drivers as well on the site can see you. So very important to have those as well. This is just a look at some of the accidents by the numbers that happened on work sites. This is only involving the workers within the sites as well. This includes all construction sites dealing with roadways. The statistics shown are from a study conducted between 2003 and 2008 by the NIOSH. These statistics are based on data that was related to 20,000 workers that were injured on the job site. Basically, whenever there's an injury on the site, a company has to turn in information about the injury and how intense it was and how it happened. And so the statistics show contact with objects or equipment was 35%, slips, trips, falls 20%, overexertion 15%, transportation incidents were 12%, and exposure to harmful substances or environment was 5%. This is just a graph showing the same information. As you can see, the objects or equipment is almost double the rest of them, so that was a big key factor. Whenever you're seeing these statistics, it helps companies to know what areas of the work environment they need to work on to make it safer. So obviously, you know, making the objects or equipment that the workers are working around more visible and just basically safer, not having a cluttered work environment, is the main aspect to keeping safety on the roadway construction. And although some of these injuries are going to be unavoidable, obviously, many can be avoided with a good safety plan. Before I started this, I associated transportation as probably the worst cause of injuries on the roadway construction sites. That's not true. Obviously, it was like 4th on the list, I think. So you just see that there's a lot of different ways that these can happen, but with proper training and proper implementation of safety, these can all be avoided. As far as safety training goes in itself, OSHA requires that all companies, large or small, must have some type of safety committee or meeting. Small companies with 10 or less employees only have to have safety committees. Larger companies than that have to have either monthly or quarterly meetings, sometimes more depending on the situation and the size of the company. Bigger companies obviously are going to have more safety meetings because they have more employees that they're worried about. Just to continue on that, for these companies that are looking for safety training, a lot of companies are designed only to offer safety training to other businesses. These companies are obviously compliant with OSHA and within the state guidelines, so they're out there and they're easy to find. And also in recent years, with the internet booming, more and more methods are coming up. It's not just someone coming into the site and showing you safety techniques now. You can find stuff on the internet. There's full safety programs on the internet. You can watch it on videos. There's many different methods that have evolved over the last decade. If you're feeling unsafe on your work environment, you can contact OSHA or any other state organization through mail, phone, or even email. OSHA would be the best one, just because they're kind of like at the hierarchy of the safety programs. OSHA protects these workers' rights, and so if you turn something in, you're not subject to any bit of discrimination. Nothing can be said against you, or you can't be basically fired based on you turning in a safety precaution. And then once OSHA recognizes a potentially dangerous situation, they will give the employer a cause for abatement, and once that is given, OSHA basically gives them a timeline that they have to correct this, and before, if it's not corrected, work can't be resumed. So pretty serious stuff, but it needs to be done. And most of the time these companies want to help out these situations, because if a worker gets hurt, you know, that's workman's comp they're having to pay, and it's just basically more money coming out of their pockets. And these are the resources that I found all my information on. If any of you want to find some more research on this stuff, you can go to any of these websites. They were all very helpful. The OSHA.gov, I found a lot off of that. Very broad website, obviously, because it's OSHA's website. So if anybody wants to do further research, they're more than welcome to. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
All right, thank you guys, and appreciate you listening to me.